was up with that hour-long episode of The Bear? That was weird, right? Season 2, episode 6, Fishes. I mean, just 2 episodes before, in season 2, episode 4, Honeydew, we've got Marcus learning to make pastries with Will Poulter in the standard 22 to 33 minute episode format. How do you know Will Poulter? There's a litmus test in that for sure. You know me, I'm not gonna be Spider Guy, Black Mirror, Will Poulter. I am, however, Narnian turned Maze Runner. Matured for a few years and then found him back on my screen as the controversial dope sick salesman, Will Poulter. How long were you into season 2, episode 6, Fishes when you realized it was an hour long? Because you may be entitled to financial compensation. No, I'm not upset. Okay, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be the Bear. And I respect them for it. I'm assuming this is what happened. You're at about 24 minutes in, and it's like, I do not get the sense that this is wrapping up at all. We haven't even seen Fish. And you move your cursor and you look at the episode's time bar and you're like, why is there 46 minutes left in my expected 29-minute long episode? We know that The Bear is a show that loves to play with pace and timing and the urgency and importance of using your time wisely. So it has to be intentional that we're halfway through the 2nd season and getting an episode like this, like full stop. Whatever progress is being made on the Bear restaurant in the present moment, let's just take a pause and revisit something that happened 5 years ago. Just like getting slow-mo whipped in the back of the head with the Barzotto family history. I thought we were working on the restaurant. Why is Bob Odenkirk on my screen right now? Placing the episode here after a season and a half of getting to know these characters, that's responsible. If we got the hour-long Fishes episode in season 1, it's not impactful, it's overwhelming. But here, honorable, practical, satisfying. Me honoring the hour-long episode of The Bear by making an hour-long video. No, just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I didn't need to like fully hold back my personality and all the nitty-gritty comments I wanted to make in order to produce a video that was like under a half hour. We better get started. In the first shot, we have Natalie. In the last shot, I'll get to this later, but we also have Natalie. The Bear, season 2, episode 6 is bookended by Natalie. What could this mean? Okay, let's think about this. Something to ruminate on. If you can't tell already from the graininess that makes this whole thing look like a home movie, she's also got brown hair. From the start, visually, we know some passage of time has occurred.
To show that time had passed.
She's with Mikey, hiding from their family Christmas party, and he's ragging on her for asking too many times if their mom is okay. That just makes it more obvious to her that she's not acting okay, which she isn't. And Natalie says, no one can make anyone else act a certain way. Let's put a pin in that because she will be proved oh wrong later. Followed by, and I'm just in the effing middle because you're you and Carmi's Carmi. So she believes that the way her brothers act, the way they behave is inevitable. They're gonna be who they are and there really isn't any stopping it. Carmi joins them outside and he makes a comment about how Mikey doesn't call him enough. We're tying into all the previous moments we've seen, especially in season 1 where Carmi talks about how Mikey cut him out basically. It makes me think of season 1, episode 2, Hands, when Carmi reminds his staff that he did want to work at the Beef, but Michael just wouldn't let him. Then Richie appears at the door and he asks if he should be outside, and Mikey asks for a second, and Richie just obeys, going back inside. Remember resistant to change Richie? When Carmi first came in to take over the restaurant in season 1, he was opposing everything. Don't mess with the system. That's the Richie that we met, the one we know and love, but it's a bit jarring to see that that wasn't always the case. But that was the relationship that he had with Mikey. He respected him, so he stayed in line. The conversation ends and Natalie says that she won't ask her mom if she's okay, and Carmi will handle their mom and Mikey will handle them, which I guess is just everybody else. They say the Mother of Victory prayer, which is the same thing that Natalie says when they are opening the Bear for Friends and Family Night in season 2, episode 9, Omelette. The inevitability of particular character traits coming through, especially when it comes to family dynamics, is a theme that the Bear loves to explore. Natalie may be the one who thinks that her brother's behavior is predictable, inevitable, but the same Natalie that leaves that conversation saying she's not gonna ask her mom if she's okay, asks, are you good, at the next opportunity. That's just like, are you okay's more casual cousin. Another well-intentioned yet ultimately unhelpful question to be asking in this moment. Natalie's Natalie. Carmi, seeing that, directs Natalie out of the room under the guise of getting paper towels. Get her out of the space. Since this is a Christmas episode, episode, let's look at the extended family we're dealing with. It's a stacked cast for sure. It's like if you had a dream about going home for the holidays and you turn a corner in your house and you're like, and then Bob Odenkirk was my uncle. Bob's your uncle. And then we turn another corner and it's a John Mulaney jump scare, a JMJS if I may. So nothing like the jump scare I experienced watching Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Jack, I'm starting to feel like you don't see the value of a life. Thank you. My Jimmy Stewart impression is based in the school of Justin Long a la New Girl. He's playing Steve, having married by way of cousin Michelle into the Berzato family shenanigans. John Mulaney in this episode, playing the in-law originally from California, might just be the great irony of season 2. As I'm pretty sure he's the only member of the family's cast to actually be from Chicago. What's the great irony of season 1, you ask? That Maddie Matheson, a real-life chef, plays the only employee of the beef who's never allowed to cook. Let him cook! Let him cook! Okay, now let's get into it. We're introduced to Donna, the matriarch of the family, and she's in the middle of cooking the 7 fishes for dinner. A very intense, time-consuming tradition to a crowd of people who don't really seem to appreciate it for whatever it may be, and also the meaning of it seems a bit unclear to everybody. Many of them straight up asking, what's up with the 7 fishes? It reminds me of when Natalie is visiting Carmi at the beef in season 1, episode 1, System, and he says, I'm going to fix this place, about the restaurant, and she responds, nobody is asking you to. It's the habit of overextending your skills and resources in order to make up for some other familial lack, passed from one generation to the next. Carmi in season 1, episode 8, Brajol, does confirm that him trying to fix the restaurant was probably him trying to fix whatever was going on with Mikey. And I'm sure Donna's overdoing it here because she's probably not given a ton of opportunities to remind her family that she is valuable, or it could just be love bombing. I don't know. Donna's showing some early signs of narcissism to me. I'm not saying she's a narcissist. I'm not here to professionally diagnose her because I am not a professional, although that isn't to say that she might not be a little bit narcissistic. Whatever Donna is, we know is fueled by her alcoholism, which is just like kept on the DL the whole episode, and the way we see her just finish bottles of wine seemingly by herself, and also the way Natalie tries to dump out the alcohol at any given opportunity. Anyway, Carmi's in the kitchen trying to help her with the 7 fishes, and this point doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of the plot of the episode or what I think the episode means, but the facts come in because Mikey told them their skateboards were in the kitchen, which in what universe would that have been true? It just feels like Mikey is purposefully causing some chaos behind the scenes for some reason. This doesn't read to me as the agreed upon handling them that the kids previously discussed. Oh yeah, your plaything is gonna be in the kitchen. Unless he's trying to keep the chaos alive so Donna doesn't ruminate in her own thoughts. We know later in the episode that people are just scared to be around Donna sometimes, so maybe this is a way of getting some people in the kitchen to surround her. Yeah, maybe that was a good call, Mikey. Maybe that was handling them. He's like the puppet master behind the scenes. Okay, I buy it. So that may have actually been helpful. But he and Donna start to gang up on Carmi, which is definitely unhelpful, I would say. They're sort of mocking him for leaving home to go to culinary school in Copenhagen, saying that he's too fancy for them now and that's why he won't come home so often, which from Carmi's perspective is definitely not true. The reason why he doesn't want to come home isn't because he thinks he's too good for them, but because his mom and brother are bullies and being around them makes him anxious. Then they yell at Carmi to say it, which just means that he has to say I love you to end the disagreement. It's like they're using his love for them against him and as a way for him to forfeit the conversation. Carmi's turn in the hot seat does not end anytime soon because Richie, Mikey, and Stevie, but to a way lesser extent, hound Carmi because they saw Claire. We know Claire and Carmi are giving their relationship a go in the present timeline of the 2nd season, but at this Christmas party, she's just Carmi's former childhood crush who they put in a good word for Carmi. She's all grown up, obviously, but they're very excited to share that with him. A woman who's that stacked both physically and mentally, according to Richie, and Carmi is like, why are you talking like that? You have a wife. Great point. Great point. Eventually, Richie says that they knew he was in love with Claire because of all those drawings. Just reads to me that Mikey and Richie went through Carmi's stuff, found the drawings, and broke his trust in the process. Carmi responds, "You used to give me a hard time about it," to Mikey. He says that twice, so still hurts that they did that, which gives us a better understanding of season 1, episode 8, when Carmi says that he's never had a girlfriend before. It's not definitive that this is the reason why, but Mikey invading his privacy and then acting out like this when he saw Claire probably made Carmi a bit hesitant to bring a girl home. If you were curious to see the drawings in question, we get a sneak peek when Carmi is having a panic attack in season 2, episode 9, Omelette, exhibit A, B, C, and she's wearing glasses.
He was wearing reading glasses.
This conversation ends with Donna throwing a spoon at Stevie, a utensil being thrown to get someone's attention. Foreshadowing. That's what we call in the biz foreshadowing, because she needs help in the kitchen. And Mikey tells her that she's gotta chill, which I feel like sort of breaks his own rule he set with Natalie about asking their mom if she's okay. Maybe this comment coming from Mikey doesn't mean so much because they are very similar animals, as we will come to see. Tiffany, Richie's then wife, is resting upstairs, pregnant and wearing a 1989 shirt. As we know, Richie getting Taylor Swift tickets is a very important subplot of season 2. And here we get to see how, with Tiff, Richie is actually pretty soft in like a nice way. I'm not saying that to be like, like he's into his wife. That's weird. I'm not that kind of bro. That's not the bro in me. I would never make fun of someone for being into their wife. But him acting this way, it doesn't not make sense, but we've just never seen it, so we didn't know what their dynamic was, which honestly makes it a bit more sad because we can see that they are really in love with each other. But with Tiffany being mad at Richie for some vague reason and them talking about school and getting a house for their kid, we can fill in the blank for how their relationship might have crumbled under the pressures of parenthood. Richie asks Tiff if she thinks the baby will like them. Tiff responds, "We just gotta not be like our parents." Richie says, "Well, you're not a psycho vampire bitch." Tiff, alcoholic, vindictive. Richie, "I'm actually here." Which is payoff for season 1, episode 8. We see Richie uses his one phone call in jail to call Tiff and apologize for something he said to her dad. Not that we couldn't have understood the phone call before, they definitely give us enough context, but seeing them talk about Tiff's parents here ties into that previous moment and also gives us a better idea of what Richie was up against. Tiff mentions a dream she had, but before we get into that, this is not the first time that dreams have come up in conversation in The Bear. No, it's the second time. If you'll recall, in season 1, episode 4, Dogs, Cicero talks to Carmi about a dream he had where he was driving with Carmi's dad in the passenger seat and had to brake for a kid in the road, and Carmi's dad just went flying through the windshield, but he never landed, he just kept going. And from that conversation we learn how closely Cicero and Carmi's dad's relationship mirrors that of Richie and Mikey. When he's talking about Carmi's dad on the whole, Cicero says they were so close in age, more like friends than family, and then 20 years ago we had a gnarly fight because of drugs, alcohol, gambling, but mostly because he insisted on doing stupid effing shit all the time. You know, he had a new career like every 10 minutes, which very much ties into the tension caused in the Fishes episode when Uncle Lee is drilling Mikey for not having a business plan, like father, like son. As for making sense of Cicero's dream and who the kid might have been, metaphorically speaking, it could have been any of their kids that came along. Nat, Carmi, Mikey, unnamed Kalinowski kid from season 1, episode 4, Dogs. It's just the inescapable nature of future generations putting the shenanigans of the current generation at a halt. Break the car, there's a kid in the road. It makes me think too of how in that episode Carmi said he didn't know his dad well enough to miss him, and how in Cicero's dream he just goes through the window and seemingly doesn't come back. So there was an absence left by him in real life too. And there's sort of a similar theme with Tiffany's dream where she's talking about how she and Richie wore all red clothes and then the baby came along and only wore green clothes. As for my interpretation of that, all I can think of is red and red do not make green. Something isn't going to be seamless about their transition to parenthood, or it's going to show something they didn't want to see in themselves. And I very much like The Bear's use of dreams in conversation. I feel like it's very effective and emotionally resonant. Sometimes in other media, dreams or dreamlike sequences can be frustrating because it feels like the action you're seeing is inconsequential. Like the majority of the last Twilight movie, that was crazy of them. But the bear uses dreams to inform us of the psychological state of the characters when they are otherwise unable or incompetent at communicating. The very first sequence of the show is a dream that Carmy has about opening the bear cage on the bridge that Mikey shot himself on. Probably speaks to his feelings about returning home to Chicago and taking over the beef. The act of going home for him is a risk, just like opening the can of worms in order to understand what Mikey was doing at the restaurant and how things ended up the way they did. It could be fine. He could tame the bear, or he could just get hurt in the process. Richie goes downstairs and he talks to Jimmy about getting him a job because he doesn't want to be working at the beef anymore. He says, "I feel like I'm wasting potential." So we see that this has always been a concern for Richie because this is 5 years ago, and in present day, season 2, episode 1, he talks about finding his purpose while they reopen the restaurant. Purpose, potential, tomato, tomato. I also like how in season 2, episode 7, Forks, the guy who's mentoring him while he stages at the other restaurant, says, "Let me give you some purpose." Forks episode, coming right after Fishes, ends up being the big turning point for Richie when he finally learns to take himself more seriously and starts wearing dope suits. Richie and Jimmy's interaction at the Christmas party here also shows us the start of that business relationship. We don't really know how things went in the middle, but based on how they end up in season 1, episode 4, Dogs, just yelling or otherwise avoiding each other, we can figure that things didn't end well. Meanwhile, the Fox and cousin Michelle are talking, and Michelle is like, "Do you think Donna is gonna do something crazy?" And the Fox are like, yeah, laugh, 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 ha 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 ha. It's the inevitability of character that I mentioned before with the kids. It also follows Donna around this party, as everyone in hushed voices agrees that at some point she is going to freak out. There's a precedent for this behavior. In the kitchen, Natalie asks if she can help Donna, but she says no because of the reason why Natalie is called Sugar in the first place. It's a nickname we've known about since the very first episode of the first season. According to Donna, she added a cup of sugar instead of a cup of salt, and then the gravy tasted like effin' Hawaiian punch. Oh. We never knew the Sugar origin story, and I thought after all this time, since Sugar's sort of an endearing term, it would be from like a positive situation, but nope, we've just been rubbing a mistake in Natalie's face this whole time. Salt in the wound. I don't know, this could be the reason why Natalie has always stayed away from the restaurant. Alright, so Carmy's on orders from Donna to get some saltines for Tiffany, and in the process finds Mikey just like hiding in the closet, and he has every right to be like, "Dude, why are you hiding in the closet? I need you out there. I need you handling them." But instead, Mikey asks Carmy why he's acting like a saltine, which again, I think is just like him feeling bogged down by his family's reactions to him going to Copenhagen. Regardless of that, Carmy uses this opportunity, this moment alone with his brother, to say that he has ideas about what to do with the beef. But Mikey thinks he's doing him a favor by keeping him out of it. And we know how important these interactions were to Carmy, how much weight he put on being able to talk to his brother about these things, especially from season 1, episode 8, when in the big Al-Anon meeting monologue, he just wishes his brother would have told him good job. Like, that's really what he was doing everything for. He just wanted to be told good job. And the closest thing that he gets here is Mikey asking him about Copenhagen, and we can tell by the way he looks during Carmy's answer, it's like he's living vicariously through him, that maybe that was his dream too. Carmy also gives Mikey an early Christmas gift, which, gasp, the illustration of the Bear restaurant as seen in season 1, episode 1 system. So it was Carmy who drew it and Mikey who hung it up. That's good to know. Glad we got that cleared up. I was really, that was in my head. Overall, we can see that Carmy has a lot of hope in starting the restaurant with his brother, and Mikey definitely goes along with it, but there's something in his responses that seems inauthentic. Like it's a plan he knows he's not going to be able to follow through with. When Carmy leaves, Mikey's face just drops and he starts crying. Just lets himself go emotionally when he's by himself. I feel like this ties into a lot of moments from season 1 where we see the characters having a hard time reconciling who he was and what happened to him. To name just a few, in season 1, when Carmy asks Ibra about buying the smaller cans of tomato sauce, and Ibra says something to the effect of, "The more I learned about Michael, the less I understood," but it was actually to hide all the money from Cicero's loan. In season 1, episode 8, when Richie says he was so loud and obnoxious and hilarious, he was Mikey Bear, I thought he'd pull out of it. In season 2, episode 8, Bolognese, when Fack asks why the picture is burned, and Eber answers because Michael was on drugs, but Fack realized it's because Mikey had overridden the fire suppression system, which is a key moment in getting the bear open for friends and family night. There was always something else going on with Mikey, always another reason why things were the way they were. When you're someone who presents outward in such a strong way as Mikey was known to do, it can be confusing for other people to understand that there was this other side to him, especially since he hid it like this. It's kind of just in plain sight the way he's acting. He can't actually be emotional and truthful and honest with his brother, but he wants to. You can tell that he wants to do all these things. It's just a matter of following through with it. Maybe it just feels impossible to him. In another room, Cousin Michelle is talking to a group of people about this woman she met who was studying bears, saying that bears are kind, sensitive, empathetic, adept at grieving, and overall emotionally complex. Richie says that that makes sense because he has all those qualities, but that also bears are aggressive. Don't forget it. The two sides to the Berzotto coin. And then he notices Mikey going outside, not looking too great. You could probably guess that he's about to use, which then immediately proves the bear theory. Richie is very perceptive. Mikey is more complex than he's letting on. Dawn is in the kitchen still, making a lot of noise, yelling, and Stevie suggests someone go in and help her, and everybody's like, no. It makes sense that Stevie is the one to suggest the bad, awful, stupid, dumb, idiotic idea of helping Donna. He's new to the family. They're all clearly scared of her a little bit, so it's better to let her just do the thing she's doing without any help. We've also lost the orchestrator, the puppeteer behind the scenes, Mikey. Who's gonna tell the Fox that their skateboards might be in the kitchen? So this is when things start to turn a little bit emotionally in the house. Things get a bit heavier. In the kitchen, Donna agonizes that nobody lifts a finger to help her, even though Natalie's right there. Right now, I guess Natalie's attention isn't enough. And Donna says that she is going to blow her brains out. But thankfully, right at that moment, Stevie answers her prayers and decides to come in, but she just ends up yelling at him to leave anyway. He tried to help her, but that isn't actually what she wanted, even though it's what she says she wants and what she's mad at people for not giving her. Or any help that can be given to Donna is never going to undo the toxic way she communicates with her family and also how she probably sees herself. Nat's husband Pete arrives and brings fish to the 7 Fishes dinner. You fool. Really, Pete? Everyone is like, yikes, bad move, dude. Literally everybody. That is the worst thing you could have done. And Stevie says, you're gonna be upset, but his heart was in the right place, Carm. And the delivery is, this mistake gets everybody to clear the room. Natalie takes the fish and throws it out the front door. He just didn't want to show up empty-handed is all. If you wanted to help, you wouldn't bring any food and you wouldn't help. Can't you get that in your skull? So that's that. Cousin Michelle finds Carmi, presents the idea of him staying with her in New York. And I quote, for your own good, get the fuck out of here, keep your head in the game, stay focused, this isn't good for your head, you gotta get out of here, stay with me, keep going. Tell us how you really feel. That's the pared down version, obviously. I'm sure she, as someone who's also seemingly escaped Chicago, knows how important it is to get away from your family a little bit if you want to have a chance at achieving your dreams. Sorry about it, but she's right. And Carmi does end up doing the thing he dreams of doing. Seeing this moment happen at the Christmas party 5 years ago, it's like history being made, okay? We know this really resonated with him because he did go to New York, and we see flashes of this conversation during the anxiety fire suppression lineup in season 2, episode 8, Bolognese. It's still something he thinks about. All right, everybody's waiting for Donna to eat, but she is crying in the kitchen. Donna, nobody out there gives a shit about me. I had to beg you to come home. Carmi, I'm happy to be here. Donna, I worked all day for them. Carmi, everybody really appreciates it too. Donna, I make things beautiful for them. No one makes things beautiful for me. Why are you treating me like a child? Do we have a problem? Whoa, where did that come from? And then she's crying and smiling and crying again. Like, the fighting still feels better than nothing because it means that she has his attention. Back at the dinner table, Mikey has started throwing forks at Uncle Lee because of all this pent-up frustration against calling him out on his behavior, specifically telling the same stories over and over again, and also not finishing things. Which is true, but also Uncle Lee is being kind of a jerk about it. I don't mean to undersell the emotion of this moment by being jokey about it. Hopefully you've seen the episode so you know that for yourself, but I think it's amazing how the entire time everybody is worried about Donna being the one to freak out. And then, at least for right now, it ends up being Mikey. Nobody was really expecting something crazy, potentially dinner ruining from him, even though he is his mother's son. We see that from the way he and Donna so easily gang up on Carmi. Here's the live.mov version of the scene after Mikey has thrown the first fork. Richie, cousin, you're scaring the normals. Lee, tell us about how you're living with your mom and you're borrowing money off of her and any other sucker who will listen to your bullshit. Jimmy, Lee, shut that up. Lee, it's fine because this guy's nothing and he's nobody. If you can hear me through the fog, throw another fork at me and you're gonna get effing rocked. Michael, hey Petey, you think I just like borrow that? His fork. For 1 second. Natalie, Michael, please don't do this. I love you, okay? Michael, I love you too, Shug. Natalie, I'm begging you, don't do it. Which, end scene for a moment. Remember when Natalie said no one else can make anyone act a certain way? I can't read all the lines, but anyone who is anyone, Bob Odenkirk, Sarah Paulson, John Mulaney, Jeremy Allen White, is yelling at Michael to stop throwing forks. But Natalie is the one who gets through to him for a moment. It's not any of them, it's Natalie. Michael, nobody wants you here with your big effing mouth. Lee, make it about you. Make Christmas about you. If you're such a tough guy, throw the effing fork. You're nothing. You're nothing. You're nothing. You are nothing. You're nothing. You are nothing. You're nothing. Enter Donna stage left and they all clap. Yay, dinner. Woo! Good dinner. Let's eat dinner. I was surprised going into this episode for many reasons, obviously, but now rewatching it and seeing it up to this point, I forgot what a huge part John Mulaney ended up having. His character, he's asked to say grace. He starts out by being grateful that everybody is very healthy, and it's almost comical the way the camera pans across Mikey as John Mulaney says, physically, no one is very sick. No one is showing signs of physical illness, like nobody's arms are cut off, nobody's bleeding onto the table, but that doesn't mean, reminds the group again that bears are aggressive, but they are also kind and sensitive. Quote, you're so kind to me, you let me hang out every holiday. I don't have a family like this. Okay, little perspective moment. I like it, and perhaps the dinner has been saved by this message. But Donna has a moment and they try to make her feel better by saying the table looks beautiful, and I love how here everybody's talking about the table, the way things have come together, but the camera does not show us the table. The camera only shows us Donna, because really, it doesn't matter how beautiful the table is. She's going to act the way that she's going to act. Donna's Donna. And Natalie, unable to help herself, says, "You okay?" Never have I had such a visceral reaction to a moment in television. It was a very delicate House of Cards, and Natalie just blew it. Again, Natalie, who famously said, you can't make anyone else act a certain way. Maybe this is true, but her words into very explicit circumstances, asking Mikey to not throw the fork and actually getting a moment of calm from him, and then asking her mom, you okay? And her mom just exploding. I feel like those are examples against what Natalie believes. Or maybe Natalie just needs to tell herself that in order to continue living her life the way she wants to live it, which is fair. But I do think she has an effect on people that she doesn't realize. So Donna says F you to that and leaves. Jerk of all jerks, Lee is like, well, we knew this was gonna happen, so now we can just all calm down, enjoy our meal. So Mikey throws the fork. A fight ensues and Donna drives her car through the living room. The episode ends with Mikey yelling at his mom over and over again, open the car door, what did you do? And at the same time, Carmi is just staring at the fork that has speared all the cannolis. And this is the final shot. Again, season 2, episode 6, Fishes, is bookended by Natalie. And now that we have all the information, why? Well, I get the feeling that it must mean something. Natalie, being a character we're still following to this day, is kind of the entrance and exit point into her crazy family. Yeah, since she's at a more steady point in season 2 than Carmi, I think we know that Carmi has a lot of more work to do on himself. It makes sense that we sort of see this episode as bookended by her because she's processed this experience. Also, what does the Fishes episode mean for Carmi? As he dissociates looking at the cannolis, what does this teach us about Carmi who's operating in the present moment? In a very explicit way, as discussed between he, Sid, and Marcus in season 2, episode 8, Bolognese, he had a panic attack thinking about that Christmas party and how his mom drove through the living room. And he always hated cannolis because he associated them with the stress of his family. But maybe he can take the cannolis back. And that's when Marcus makes the savory version of the cannoli for the Bear's Friends and Family Night menu, which also includes an homage to the seven fishes. In a perhaps less on-the-nose connection, I think, by the way the fishes episode looks in the grand scheme of season 2, how much the past informs the choices that Carmy is making right now. That moment where he's just staring at the cannolis, it's like he's stuck in that moment, in that mindset for the entirety of the second season, while Sydney and others are really waiting for him to be able to move forward. And the culmination of that is Friends and Family Night going really poorly for him, being stuck in the fridge because he didn't call the fridge guy the entire season, and going really well for everybody else. Things work out on Friends and Family Night, not because of, but despite Carmy's behavior. It's like he's the bear that ends up locked in the cage again. And the end of that episode, season 2, episode 10, the bear, he's getting saved from the locked fridge and he's just sitting on the floor. It feels like we're in a place of rebuilding again, kind of like how at the end of season 1, episode 7, when things went really badly with the takeout orders and Marcus and Sydney quit, coming back into work the next day in season 1, episode 8. It's like we're back to level 1. We've got to figure out how to make this work again. Since it turns out that Carmy has so much of his past to work through, his growth in season 2 really feels stagnant against the other characters. I mean, Marcus is going to Denmark, Tina's going to school, even Sydney's just going around Chicago to different restaurants and seeing what that environment is like. Carmy's growth was mostly rooted in Claire, and he blew that by misplacing his own anxiety around his family onto that relationship. I think this also is like the rule of the movie revealing what it's actually about halfway through. I think a good example of this is Everything Everywhere All at Once, where the first half of the movie you think Jobu Tupaki is this big villain, and then halfway through you kind of realize that everything she's doing is just a big cry for help. So if we take season 2 and how the Fishes episode is placed in the middle, it's also revealing what the story of season 2 is actually about. We think the entire time that we only have the future to look towards, especially with them reopening the beef as the bear. We've just got to fix the restaurant and get things moving. But for Carmy, we actually learn partway through with Fishes that he's not going to be able to move forward. It's as much a story about the future and moving forward as it is the past. So the net result is the present. I definitely appreciate that, because watching the end of season 1, when they finally get the thing they want, the means to make a great restaurant, it's like, okay, that's good writing though. You think going into season 2 that we only have what's ahead of us, but nope. Actually, something that happened 5 years ago is still informing the present. And while Carmy's sitting in the fridge, Richie calls him Donna, which based on the way he responds is like the greatest insult. I mean, we were always expecting Carmy to freak out when things were going poorly at the beef or the bear. So he really is a Donna. He's got a lot of things to work through. Yeah. Oh man. Alright gang, let me know what you thought while you were watching The Bear. This is officially me opening a forum to discuss The Bear, what you made of these moments, and thanks for watching. Bye!